just joined us, guess what? You are on time. Why? Because we've just started, and simply because it's that time of the day. What time of the day? You might not have picked it up, but every second Monday of the month, we got the man behind the leadership talks. It all started with him. Dr. Maanda Tshifularo. Good afternoon, Dr. Maanda.
Hello, Lukho. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to our listeners.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's
It's
been
been
a
a while.
minute.
Yeah, it's been a long while. It's a month actually. Let's just be realistic. It's a month. Since Enika asked me, "Is Dr. Maanda coming through?" I'm like, "Yeah, supposed to. He should remember. If we remembered, he should remember." So I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I hope that was your work and not Rulani's.
And I think you must have more conversations with Rulani to bring me here way more often.
Pretty please, at least twice,
Uh,
gay. At least twice.
yeah, chat to Rulani. She owns the diary, so
Okay.
she can make anything happen.
All right, all right. So it is, of course, that time, Dr. Maanda. We're talking all things leadership, but the real topic, the real subject, is only known by you. So, guys, believe it or not, I don't know much until I come here, just like you. Wink, wink for the lives, but it's fine. So, what are we talking about today, Dr. Maanda?
Yeah, so today's conversation, I'm finding it more and more necessary. And that is talking about how might we unlock creativity,
Okay.
innovation, and perhaps a bit of magic from the people we lead. So the challenges that we see in our consulting work, and as you just read, what you kind of see in business, in ministry, in media, whether it's youth development, everywhere, technology or geopolitics, and all the many forces that come at us, they've appended almost every other industry, and that requires us to be a little bit more creative, to bring in some ingenuity and rethink how we do what we do. If you think about radio, if you think about all the many industries that have been built over the years, many of them are being disrupted in a way that requires us to potentially be more creative in how we think about solutions for our customers, for our
Yeah.
delegates, and for everyone else. So today we want to talk about um, unlocking creativity in ourselves and in the teams we lead.
Interesting. Now, if you don't know him, Dr. Manda is the director of Super Lead Advisory, and he specializes in strategy operations and leadership development. He's a strategist, leadership coach, and an author of Lead with Super Clarity. So you understand why I say when we speak leadership, we speak him. And he's a globally recognized facilitator. He has moderated high profile events, and through this conversation, you will truly get to understand why exactly, why him. I think you might find yourself repeating yourself once again, Dr. Manda. But it's always good to have you back, like I said earlier on. And it's been a little while, and I know that our listeners are eager to hear from you. And I want to really understand why this topic before we get deeper into it.
Good. Really, truly is. Here's an anecdote. So when I facilitate leadership sessions or whether I'm teaching in class, etc., you just ask a simple question to just sort of get a sense of who in the room believe that they are a creative.
Hmm.
Right. It's just very, very few hands go up. And I think over the years, many of us have narrowed down the definition of being a creative, maybe to a couple of activities, like
Of
someone that
arts,
makes.
actually,
Yeah.
of arts, like singing and
Yes.
dancing. Yeah, that's our sense of creativity.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we are made in God's image.
Mm.
I wonder if that ability to create is just given to a few people who are in the arts. So one of the first big problem is that many of us have self-deselected out of creativity, of ingenuity, and to an extent of even innovation or
Yeah.
design. And the reality is this is exactly what we need now. If you have a youth ministry, if you don't have a bit of creativity, you're going to lose the young people. You know, if you
True.
a telco, if you lead in a bank, it just the normal standard things are being, just AI has permeated everything. And I
A
think
lot.
what's been called for us is to bring that magic, that human creativity, ingenuity to deal with the problems. And for today, I thought maybe as we have this conversation, as we normally do, we do anchor our conversations in one or two books. And the main book we're gonna kind of anchor our conversation on is a classic on this, written by Todd Henry. It's titled "Heading Tigers: Be the
Okay.
Leader That Creative People Need," as a guide to explore how we might all sort of unleash that potential that is all around us.
That's a refreshing perspective, I must say. When most of us think about leading people, we often default to traditional management approaches. When we set clear targets, we monitor performance, provide feedback. Now, from your reading of Herding Tigers, which you just mentioned, Todd Henry focuses on leading creative people. But I'm curious, do you think his insights apply more broadly to leading anyone with potential?
No, that's exactly the deeper insight that I took from Henry's work. While he writes specifically and almost, he's crafted a target market for his book. I find that, the insights and the principles he unlocks, they apply to almost all of us. Um,
Mm,
who whether who have to solve problems, who have to innovate processes, who have to find new ways to serve our customers, our listeners, our delegates, even our church members. So when you look at it that way, we are all in some sense heading tigers. So if you think about it, every
okay.
person you lead, right, has brilliance, has
Mm,
drive, has unique capabilities, and that person is created by God with amazing strength, and skills, and all that that we need to unlock creativity to serve our customers and our constituents, if it were. So, what surprised me as well the most, with Henry's insight about creative people, which I will argue all people, is that they need strategic leadership and not
mhm.
less. So we often assume that people are competent and we should just give them targets and we'll leave them alone. But Henry shows that everyone faces similar core challenges, especially
Yeah.
creative. Their best work sometimes happen in ways that are not visible to others. That's number one.
Mm,
Number two, people as they do their work, they tend to be vulnerable to criticism and judgment.
yep.
For us to do this show, right, we are vulnerable to criticism and judgment, and most of the work that leads to this show happened before the show.
Yeah.
And and the third element is much of what we do involves subjective decisions that can't easily be
Mm,
measured. And the big insight is this: if we want to unleash potential in anyone, we need to lead them like they're brilliant, that they are powerful individuals, that they are capable, rather than treating them like, problems to be managed. Um,
mm.
and of course, that require a lot more thoughtful, intentional leadership than some of the traditional approaches.
I'm actually happy that you mentioned this again because you did at the start of your conversation to say, managers need to lead people, or any person in leadership, leaders, in fact, needs to lead people that they believe are brilliant, people that they believe are powerful. And as you're speaking, in my spirit dropped something that, when a leader ceases to see the greatness in their constituencies, there, right there is their downfall. Because what else are you leading if you believe the only great person in the room is you? Who else are
No,
you leading then?
exactly. So, Liz Wiseman wrote an entire book on this. It's called Multipliers. And very briefly, we'll take an off ramp, Lukho. So, in the book, she distinguishes between the leaders that she calls multipliers and those
Hmm.
that she calls diminishes. And
Okay.
from her research, she found that, those is, let's take a Lukho. One season, Lukho works for someone, and she is brilliant, and she's
Yeah.
hitting the targets, etc. And another season, the same Lukho works for another leader, and Lukho is no longer delivering. And she wanted to figure out what's the difference, because it's still the same Lukho. And
Exactly. With the same dreams and ambitions and drive.
she found that some leaders are multipliers and some are diminishers. And the diminishers, they micromanage, they do all of those things. And then the multipliers, they invest in you, they believe in you, and they push you. The biggest difference was this: the multipliers believed that the people they are leading, they are capable and they will figure it out, right?
Oh,
Just
wow.
that mindset that say, this person I'm leading is absolutely amazing, and I'm going to
Mm,
create space and I'm going to lead them in a way from a belief that they are great. The
mm,
diminished instead sort of say, this person, yeah, they might have qualifications, but they can't figure it out without me. So the diminishers, they kind of place themselves in the center of the work
mhm,
versus the multipliers that place the person in the center of the work and say, you great. It,
mm.
maybe your numbers may have had an error or two, but you as an individual are made great. You're brilliant, you're powerful, and we're going to create the environments with all that we have to unlock that creativity. So, in essence, it's just that mindset unlock. And I can hear someone already saying, yeah, but some people, hey.
Uh, I must
um,
say, Dr. Amanda, what you touched on earlier on, it's really a powerful reframe, seeing everyone as having creative potential that needs to be unleashed rather than, being them being managed. You mentioned these challenges of visibility, vulnerability, to criticism and subjective decision making. Can you then help us understand how these show up not just in creative roles, but in everyday leadership situations?
No, absolutely. So let me start by this visibility productivity issue, and then I'll go to this vulnerability issue, and I'll
Mhm.
go to the subjective measurement of the work. So creatives, as one will appreciate from the arts, and I argue many of us that do work, they take let's take a software developer. They might need to spend maybe 3 days thinking hard about this problem that they need to solve, and then they take maybe the next 2 hours to write the code. Right from the outside, this person wasted 3 days of not being productive.
Mm.
Um, and the challenge is that when we can't see the process that the person is going through, we start making assumptions that they're not productive,
Yeah.
um, and we set all these like multiple check-ins and unrealistic expectations, because we think sometimes to understand outcomes and productivity, we must constantly monitor the process. And true genius sometimes requires you to step away. And I'll give you an example with myself. So in the line of work we do, consulting work, you're taking a ton of data and analysis and interviews, and you look at the reports, and to think through the solution. Sometimes I hop on a bike, go for a ride, and when I am not processing those numbers, just like that, the dots starts to connect. So the one way to rethink, reframe how we lead is this: just because you can't see the progress does not mean the person is unproductive.
Of
And
course.
we allow people that space to think, to sit on a couch and just wander away, and kind of just let them be, rather than, okay, 8 o'clock check in. What are we doing today? 10 a.m. How far are we? 11:30. What's going on? And the thing, some of that sometimes hinders productivity and
Mm.
the second one is this idea that creatives are vulnerable to criticism. And I think most of what we do also is, many of us, we are vulnerable to criticism. A bricklayer, lays the wall in a certain way, there is criticisms there. A project manager who's creating a new process, there is vulnerability. A pastor, who's setting out to deliver a sermon, there is feedback. And when everyone is about to put their ideas forward or their work forward, there is that vulnerability to criticism, and this constant exposure of same ego insecurity dynamic
Yeah.
is what Henry speaks about. And our role as leaders is to be aware of that and protect and make it safe for the people working in our teams to kind of just be vulnerable to put their work. Otherwise, there's a challenge. The third one is most of the meaningful work, gets judged by subjective measures, not necessarily things we can measure or
True.
tangibly. You put out a product, customers are going to judge it in an immeasurable way sometimes.
Interesting. I've been smiling since. Do you know? No, no, no.
Tell me.
You made mention to the line of work you do, and you're like data analyzing. I was like, who? I am under right now. I don't know if I ever told you I'm actually doing data analytics. Yo, 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 Yankama, Yankama. It's here. The workload, Dr. Manda, is too much. But we'll have a chat about that off air. All I just want to tell you, Velenge I've had being under the water. I am hardly coping, but it's fine. It's
So,
fine.
but let me just say this with all the work. So, with all the tools and the crunching of the numbers, what I've seen is that it also requires you to look at those numbers and the many and the calculations and just step back from all everything. And you'll be surprised when you come back what new patterns you see, what new ways this data is correlating. Might kind of tell different stories. And before you know, breakthrough creativity and innovation and ingenuity comes
I'm
out
just,
of that process.
I'm just glad you've gone before me because wow, you are just about to hold my hand because wow, I'm not even in the hardcore part of it, but I'll tell you all about it later. Let's get ready
Um,
back into it. Now, those examples really help me see how these dynamics play out everywhere, the ones that you just mentioned now. And you've mentioned that Henry's solution is providing both stability and challenge to people. For leaders who are used to either being very hands on or very controlling, how does this, balance actually work in practice across different types of roles?
No, stunning. So, I don't know, I've said this many times. For me, when I read a book and there's a 2 by 2 matrix, I just smile. And because I'm a consultant, we live 2 by 2 matrix. So Henry also has got one, the framework that I think it's universally powerful. And he specifically says for creatives, they need two things. If it were, they need stability on the one axis and they need challenge on the other axis. And I think this applies not only to the people in the arts, people in marketing, finance, manufacturing. We all need the stability of the environment we're in, but we
Hmm.
also need the challenge. So stability isn't about making the work easy, but it's about creating that certainty so people can focus on what matters. And that comes through clarity of expectations and what's clear about priorities, and what measurements of success look like. And the second thing that required for leaders here is protecting the team against just the noise, the politics, the shifting demands, and the blame when things don't go too well. So the role of a leader here is to just kind of ensure there is good stability. On the
Yeah.
other hand, challenge is about growth and permission. This is encouraging the team to experiment, to show as a leader, you show faith in their abilities, to let them take ownership of the work and not constantly micromanage. And when people feel that space to can push the boundaries a little bit and they feel insecure and supported, the magic that comes out of that is incredible. And as it is a 2 by 2 matrix, you find the environments that's got high stability and high challenge, that's where the magic happens. But environments where one of them is missing, you either have frustrated teams because there isn't stability, everything is just all over the place. And where there is a real good challenge, you find that the teams are stagnant, and thus you're not getting much creativity, ingenuity, and innovation.
All right, we'll be right back, Dr. Maanda. You know how the drill goes. Time to pay our bills.
Radio Pulpit 657 AM.
Have you taken the time to set up your will? Maybe you've been meaning to, but you're not sure where to begin. It can feel overwhelming, even emotional, but it's one of the most loving things you can do for the people and causes you care about most. At Radio Pulpit, we understand that preparing a will is deeply personal. That's why we've partnered with the caring professionals to assist. Listen to Radio Pulpit Jikelele, and Radio Kansel Hartklank during Wills Week from 15 to 19 September to help you set up your will, completely free of charge. Call us on 012-334-1200 or send an email to audrey@radiopulpit.co.za for more information.
Hierdie verkeersverslag word geborg deur die Oor-Instituut, waar uitstekende gehoor begin. Die Oor-Instituut waarborg jou gehoor sal verbeter of jou geld terug.
Time for us to take a quick look at the roads for this afternoon. In Edenvale on the N3 southbound, queuing traffic towards Galuli's interchange. In Johannesburg on the M1 southbound, the slow-moving traffic towards Crown interchange. And as we head towards Bedford View on the N3 northbound, queuing traffic on the link to the N12 east at Galuli's interchange. In Midrand on the N1 southbound, a stationary vehicle just before Baklu interchange causing heavy traffic. In Bedford View on the N12 for R24 westbound, the slow-moving traffic on both routes towards Galuli's interchange. In Bedford View on the N3 southbound, slow-moving traffic towards Van Buren Road. And that's about it for now. Anything else to report in terms of traffic? Kindly let us know on the WhatsApp number 082-657-2729, 082-657-2729.
Hierdie verkeersverslag was moontlik gemaak deur die Oor-Instituut, waar uitstekende gehoor begin. Die Oor-Instituut waarborg
And it's still leadership conversations with myself, Lukho Mkwedi Phuthi, and Dr. Maanda Tshifularo. Happy Monday if you've just tuned in. And if you just joined us, Shem Chom, you've missed out on a lot. Today, Dr. Maanda is talking about herding tigers. In case you're wondering what that is, you'll catch it along the line. Dr. Maanda, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Luko.
Now, that matrix really shows how this applies beyond creative roles. But to provide this kind of leadership, it sounds like, leaders themselves need to fundamentally shift how they see their role. Henry talks about moving from being makers to managers. But for leaders in any field who got promoted because, they were good at, the technical work, this must really feel like losing their identity. So how does this transition work across different industries?
This is, I believe, is something universal, and I think it's also the source of many management problems when this transition is not managed well. Whether it's a brilliant engineer who becomes a technical lead or an excellent teacher who now becomes a principal, this transition, I think, is the same, and I think it also feels somewhat devastating. In that, Henry talks about this from it's moving from my stuff, the things I do, to our stuff. As a technical contributor, your success was measured by your personal output, the show that Lukho produces, and now the problems you solved, the sales you closed, the lessons you taught. But as a leader, as you transition, your success is now measured by what your team produces. It's no longer
Yep.
about your brilliance anymore, but it's about the brilliance of others. And
The
sometimes,
entire team.
and that sometimes feels like, but I I want,
Yeah.
and when the person is not getting there fast enough, you're like, but I know I can, you know
You almost want to step in and do it yourself.
step in and you rescue, and then you just completely knock down their confidence and the journey that they were on. And I must
Mm.
tell you, I still struggle with this every day. I love to solve problems as a consultant. I like to get stuck in on every client problem and work stream,
And it's
and
frustrating to see somebody not doing it how you want it done when man, this would be 1 2 1 2 with me.
no, but also I want to do it, and then I feel like I'm a little.
Oh, it's not even
Uh,
about the incompetence, it's about you.
like I look, and then Nsako and the team, like, they produce this. I'm like, but like, I want to, I want to facilitate the workshop too, and I want to run the numbers. I always tell the guys, I used to build this financial model, okay, just, and then they're like, yes, it's fine, it's fine. So
Now's
I
not
want
your
to.
time.
So I went to build the model, and they build it better than me. They analyze things better than me. They tell the stories better than me. But there's still a part of me that still wants to do that. So I almost want to say this is hard, and for leaders, it's that sort of reminder every other day that the job really, it's yes, you might enjoy coding yourself, and if maybe it's no longer your season to do that, you may want to kind of just reflect on that. So Henry talks about this now as you transition and to kind of leading teams that unlock creativity, ingenuity, innovation, and all that wonderful magic. It requires that you, as a leader, your new role is to provide focus, function, and fire. So if you have to now measure yourselves according to Henry, it says focus means that you're ensuring your team knows what they're working on and why it matters. And the function, he had to kind of make it like 3 F's so that, maybe it's memorable. But the function in his framework is that you're removing obstacles and providing resources for your team. And the fire is that it's about meaning making, constantly connecting what your team is doing and why it matters, both to
Yeah.
the organization and to them personally. And this emotional reality, it's real. when what you grew up doing, you were praised for, it's no longer the thing that you do and you get praised for, but the role has shifted to providing focus, function, and fire. And when leaders don't do that, because that's not what we grew up being kind of measured on. We're measured on how brilliant the slides we produced are, and how fantastic the analysis looked, and how great the song you made was.
Okay. Now, that reframe from solving technical problems to solving people problems is powerful, I must say. The focus, function, and fire, the 3Fs framework, sounds more practical. But I imagine it requires leaders to actually think completely differently about their daily priorities. Can you unpack what each of these looks like for leaders in different contexts?
No, absolutely. I will also just share one or two thoughts on this thing. Focus, really, it's about being laser. Kind of just your role is show as a laser. Your role is kind of cutting through the noise and the mess and sort of shining the light on what the team must focus on. And cutting through the big words as well. Words like we want to improve customer satisfaction or customer centricity. And in your context, it might just be, hey, we are focusing on reducing response time for billing queries from 48 hours to 4 hours this quarter. That's laser focusing the team on kind of working through all the problems involved in doing that, rather than sort of kind of giving this broad team, let's improve customer centricity. If that is the mandate, it's that clarity your team needs to really bring all their energy to solve the problem, rather than sort of letting their energy spread across a whole range of sometimes meaningless phrases. Function is about removing friction where everywhere, and your job here and how what you do is becoming the person that helps solve the problems that prevent your team from solving the problems. Right. So you kind of go, there is a problem. My job is not to solve that the client problem, for instance. My job is not to solve that particular client problem, is to solve the problem that's getting in the way of my team solving the client problem. And then
Oh.
yes, yes, yes. And the function. And this could be, processes and organizational roadblocks. And there's someone that's grandstanding some resources. And the job here is for you or me as a leader to go engage on those difficult conversations, so that my team cannot waste their time on that political noise, but they can get on with solving for our constituent and our customers. And when they're not clouded, I think that provides the headspace to think completely differently, to come up with new solutions that has not been solved before. Then the last one, perhaps, I think is the most crucial one and most overlooked. It's about meaning making,
Mm.
connecting why do we do what we do and why does it matter, and it provides that quiet fire deep down to push through, to really think hard about how might we do things differently. um, the more we can constantly do this, the better the environment might be. And who knows, maybe you are the team that goes and solves our biggest problems in this continent.
All right, Dr. Manda, as we wrap up, you really expanded my thinking about how these principles actually apply far beyond creative industries. Now, for any leader listening, whether they are managing a finance team, a retail operation, or a manufacturing unit, who recognize that they might be managing tasks rather than unleashing potential, what's one practical step that they could take this week to begin this shift?
Excellent. So, if there's one thing I will encourage every leader is to consider perhaps not solving problems for the team, and start
Mm.
asking the question that says, how might I help the team solve problems better? It's for me, when a problem arises, instinctively I want to go solve it, and I
Because you
might
know the solution. That's another thing. You are
you might
accustomed to, yeah.
you might know the solutions. Your experience might help you get to the solution,
But that's
but
not your duty.
yes, and some of us are just hardwired, are pulled to see the problem, and we go, right, let's pull out a blank piece of paper and let's problem solve this. And I imagine most leaders, regardless of industry, when they see a problem, it's tempting to immediately want to jump in with solutions.
Mm.
And that may have come from that technical expert instinct we got as we our careers were unfolding. And for this week, where the encouragement is this, and I'm encouraging myself here. When I see a problem, I, Maanda Tshifularo, and our fellow leaders, when we see something that needs fixing, whether it's a process or a customer complaint or quality problem, instead of kind of jumping in, maybe we resist the edge. Instead, ask the person closest to that work, what do you think is really causing the problem? And we
Yeah.
listen in and really really listen in, and we might discover that maybe the challenge is different than we would have thought. They might have instinct from being in their work daily that we as leaders may have missed. And even if they arrive at the same solutions, we will have given them the opportunity to solve the problem. And in a
Mhm.
way, they start to own the solutions because they kind of they led the discovery and the problem solving process. Here's a simple practice maybe for any leader. Perhaps scheduling a 30 minutes conversation with each person in your team, and instead of the normal updates and direction, maybe we might add these three questions. What's working well in your role and in your projects right now? That's question number one. Two, what's making your work harder than it needs to be? So you're sort of moving towards how might I help you kind of with the function piece. And if you could change one thing to help you do your best work, what will it be? So then these questions, they kind of say that you are here to serve them,
Yep.
do their best work.
Love to hear it. Is that it for today, Dr. Amanda? Because I feel like while at it, that's it's not an overload. It's a lot to chew on, and and perhaps I still want to get more of this info. If I'm a manager, I'm listening right now, or a leader of any kind, and I'm like, lead me to the right direction, Dr. Amanda. How do we get there? How do we get to that place? No, the internet is not doing this to us. Dr. Manda, are you there? Ah, Dr. Manda's gone. Dr. Manda is gone. But you know what? Let's do this. Maybe he's going to come back on in a second because I just need him to give us the last details. But I must say, really powerful because how many times do we really, really get to a place where we want to do things ourselves as leaders, no matter what unit you lead, but you find yourself actually wanting to be the one that does things, perhaps because you are already experienced in that discipline. You already know what to do. But I love what Dr. Manda says. Perhaps instead of solving the issues for your team members, sit down and understand what poses a difficulty to them such that they're not able to come to a solution. Or sometimes it's not even that they're not able to come to a solution, but that they're delayed to get to it. So I really, really love what he just mentioned here. But I think while at it, so that we move to the next thing, there he is. There he is. Dr. Manda, I almost took your job there. I almost took your job. Almost. I almost literally as you came in, I was about to give more details of how we can actually reach you.
No, you can. So more details on how you can reach me. I don't know what you covered before that.
No, I didn't cover anything. I literally just added just on the importance of leaders, knowing how and when to sit back, when to step in and try to assist without taking over the task, but actually establishing what the real issue is. So that was my conversation to say maybe next time don't jump in, ask what's posing a challenge to you getting to the task on time and efficiently? And how can I assist to help you establish the solution as opposed to jumping in and trying to bring about the solution because you know better?
Stunning. I think you must do this show. I'll be on the other side. I'll come studio. I'll ask the
Or maybe
questions, and
I'm
you.
just a good listener. Maybe I'm a good listener. Maybe I listened to you.
Um, I we anchored a lot of this in a book by Todd Henry, but I think scripture has got a lot to say about God, people made in God's image,
Yeah,
empowered, endowed with skills and imagination and the brilliance really, and um, and I think if we can believe that and start to lead differently from a standpoint that we are made great, and therefore potential, there is this ingenuity in each and every one of us, and we are made brilliant. We've
yeah.
got amazing skills and potential to be tapped into. So that will be my parting shot, and to sort of say, hey, as you lead people with this belief that they are brilliant, that they are capable, that they are made in the image of God, that there's potential everywhere, as you lead those individuals and teams, and you like our support of coaching and consulting and culture change, you can reach me at Maanda T at superlead.co.za, and Maanda T is MAANDAT. Or you can send a message to our WhatsApp. There's a team that monitors this WhatsApp line, 078 020 0051. My heart is for leaders all over the continent to just shift a tad bit, and maybe we lead differently from a standpoint that we are leading people who are made in God's image, who are brilliant, who are capable, and perhaps our job is for us to create that space where there is stability and there is challenge, where we provide the fire, we provide the function, and we provide that focus. And our job is to that allows us to be leaders who lead with super clarity, and perhaps that's what we might just need for that breakthrough innovation in your organization.
Dr. Manda, thank you so much, Diabulela. Until the next month, in the next 3 weeks, guys, yeah, it's that long, but don't worry, we'll sort this thing out one of these days. Not making any promises, but la, la, la. I think also some of us get comfortable because I can always text Dr. Manda and say, hey, Dr. Manda, but you see, now I feel for you because then you have to wait for 4 weeks. But Dr. Manda, thank you much. Have a lovely afternoon, lovely month until we meet again. God bless.
Thank you, Lukho.
It's here. Radio Pulpit's new website is live. You can tune in at Radio